Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Track 3 Cloud of Python WebConf 2021. My name is Josh Qualls. I am the LoudSwarm account manager here at 6 Feet Up. Today, I'm joined by Jay Miller. He's going to be talking about telling the server user story through the Elastic Stack.
All right, thank you. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this talk. I am going to do my best to make it as painless as possible. Don't worry, I'm not out for any heads today, so it should be a pretty light and fun conversation. Let me go ahead and share my screen, and we will jump right in. A little bit of backstory about me. I normally don't like to do that, but this is kind of important here. I am a community taught developer. I've built most of my knowledge on building small projects and making things work. I actually come from a marketing background, which is a really unique situation because it allows me to think in terms of marketing in many of the ways that I want to develop things. And when I joined Elastic, one of the things I really enjoyed about that was it allowed me to start to think about projects and gave me an avenue to use the Elastic Stack in ways that a lot of people don't know about. And today I'm going to talk about one of those things. I think that this is a great topic that will help people that are building projects on their own so that they can kind of put their marketing hard hats on from time to time, but also it gives them the ability to visualize what their potential or current customers and users of their products want without having to be intrusive. And we'll go into detail a little bit about that later, but we're going to talk about our use case here, which is Diversityorgs.tech. This is a site that's run, maintained, and owned by me. I built it using the Elastic Stack, using our Elastic App Search technology. It runs on React. I know, don't come for my head. I wish it would run on Flask. I'm actually working on porting it over if I can. But all the data is pulled from websites and optimized using lots of Python tools like Beautiful Soup and Pandas, especially Pandas. I do a lot of data normalization in Pandas. And it is available via GitHub repo. There is a link at the bottom of the slides if you do want to look at my prep document that has all the information, all the active links, videos, and all those great things. So why aren't we talking about traditional analytics or these, popular analytics sites? Well, I'm going to be honest. The app is simple. It's only 3 pages, and I'm cheap. The app itself, all it does is give you a search bar where you can put your location, maybe the type of technology you want to focus on, and any underrepresented groups that you want to support or you belong to. And hopefully, if one of the 500 plus the 500 records that we have in there, if there's something there in your area, it'll surface it. And it does a very simple thing very well. That said, I don't think I need a large, expensive analytics tool to tell me that users went to one of 3 pages. I can kind of make good assumptions there. Also, there are a few practices that have become the norm lately, such as gender estimates and things like that, that I just don't feel comfortable talking about or supporting. So I tend to opt out and talk to my users and also look at anonymized user data. So we talked about the user story, and I think I'm talking mostly to developers here. So I'm going to be talking about the user story from the perspective of a marketer, not necessarily a developer. However, if you don't know what a developer user story is, I figured I might as well at least explain that a little bit too. And this is creating a followable progression that allows you to work through the steps of what's happening when a user comes and visits your site. This could be something like, in my case, as you see on the screen, a user visits the home screen, they search for something, the query is checked against a few parameters, and then at the end of they're given results, and by clicking those results, they're taken off my website. Pretty simple. However, in the marketing world, the user stories are a little different. In fact, we actually have a thing that we use that we create this amalgamation of a user based on some characteristics of the global set, not the individual. And these are called personas. Oh, sorry, not that personas. These are called personas. A persona is an amalgamation of all of those different considerations that you want to address in your site. In this case, we're actually going to be looking at one of the personas that I use named Quentin. Now, Quentin isn't a real person. Quentin is someone that I made up based on the analytics that I've pulled from my site. Quentin uses they, them pronouns, is 23 years old, is an African first generation Londoner. They're hoping to get into the tech industry because they struggled in uni trying to go through accounting. They have dyslexia and ADHD, which are two things that go together pretty well. And they open our website looking for non-binary JavaScript resource groups in the London area. Now, like I said, Quentin isn't a real person. I mean, there probably is someone out there that fits that description. And if I did my job creating this persona correctly, then hopefully there is. And that's the person that's going to visit my site. But ultimately, everyone that visits my site could probably relate to Quentin in some way, shape, or form. Maybe they're a first generation, maybe their parents are immigrants. Maybe they're a part of the LGBTQIA plus community. Maybe they're right out of college and they're looking for resources that they can afford. So Quentin isn't necessarily the representation of a single person, but instead the representation of many people. And whenever I'm developing my site, whenever I'm working on how do I make my site better, I start to think, would Quentin appreciate some of the choices that I've made? In this case, do I have organizations in the LGBTQIA plus community? What about in London? Well, luckily I do. I'm happy to say that I do. Are they discoverable under terms like non-binary, agender? What about transgender and genderqueer and things like that? I don't know. Do I use gender neutral terminology in my site? Hopefully. I kind of embrace the y'all and use folks for everything. So I'm hoping I'm doing a good job there. Are the statements concise? Do I go into long, rambling sentences that make it hard for folks with dyslexia? What about overall accessibility? Is my site accessible? We can always do better with that, but am I at least making steps in the right direction? And do I have links to things like YouTube channels? Honestly, right now I don't. And that's okay, because the answer is not always going to be yes or I'm fixing it. I'm not here to necessarily build every single feature that users ask for. I'm here to build my project, but I'm building it after I take the concerns of the people that are going to be using it under consideration. At least now, when someone says, hey, are you tracking YouTube events? I can say, that's something that I've thought about. And right now, we just don't have the, resources to support doing that. But maybe in the future, maybe that's something we can put on our roadmap. So let's talk about analytics. That is how we build the identity that is Quentin. Well, to do that, I guess this is where the hero comes into the room, the Elastic Stack. And I will say I am an Elastic employee, but I do feel like Elastic does a lot of great things in terms of search. We think of search in terms of just a little box with a, magnifying glass on your browser, but search is a lot of things. For many cases, you can do things like log analysis, which is something that we're going to be, I'll be showing in a few minutes. It can be used for application performance monitoring if you have a bunch of devices and you need to figure out like, hey, what's that one server that keeps going buck wild causing my site to crash? You can use it for things like security. And Jack Ellis, the creator of Fathom Analytics, actually uses it for privacy-based analytics. Now, we're not going to be using Jack's product, although I am a fan. I have used it in the past. It's a great tool. But he mentioned, at the end of the day, we're all just searching for a solution. And in this case, I was searching for who's using my site and how. So before we get into the fun part, which is the demo, I am going to leave with this one big key. Talk to your users, get their feedback, use their feedback. Nothing that I say here is better than getting information directly from your users. Being willing to be humble, being willing to accept that sometimes your decisions aren't the best ones, and listening to the people that will ultimately use your site. Now, with that said, let's hold on to our butts because it's demo time. So I'm going to switch out of this. And unfortunately, you're going to see the side of my face for the rest of this, but I feel like what's on the screen is probably going to be a little bit more important. So I'm currently using Elastic Cloud. You don't have to use Elastic Cloud. I do it because it's easier for me. But I have my site here, Diversityorgs.tech. We're actually going to go into our Kibana instance, and we're going to look at the analytics that I get directly from my site. Now, remember, this is from my site, so you're looking at actual data. I don't have that many users yet, but hopefully we'll change that a little bit today. Last 15 minutes, probably not much. Or in our case, probably not anything. Yeah, nothing. That's fine. Let's go back to the last 30 days. Refresh. There we go. Now we got some data. Now you may be wondering, like, what are you looking at? What is this thing? I'm going to walk you through this really quickly. At the top here, and don't worry about any of the numbers or anything else. Just look at the pretty colors, because that's what I tend to do when I think about analytics. Is, oh, pretty colors, I love it. At the top here, we have our top pages. Now, like I said, there's only 3 pages, but there are a lot of assets. So I can think about what assets are being used the most and whether or not they should be optimized. In this case, we got a nice little spike here at the top. Oh, wow, a lot of people went to the homepage back in earlier this March. We also have a little map here. Now, I said we're doing anonymized data. We're still collecting location data. It's approximated and it's not the most accurate. I mean, if someone decides to use a VPN, I can't change that. But I can get a good idea of where a large part of our users are coming from. And in this case, I'm actually going to zoom in a little bit. Let's draw a box around this area. It does take a second. We're looking at some live data here. I'm also trying to pump an entire conference talk through Zoom right now. So again, say a prayer to the demo gods. Wow, it looks like there's a lot of chatter happening in Kansas. A lot of chatter. So this could be a few things. This could be a bot. This could be a friend helping me test my site. This could be people in Kansas looking for a lot of relevant information. But I'm going to make a note of that. Let's find another one. Let's find one in Europe. Are there any in Europe? Oh, you know what? I need to reset my filter. Let's do that really quick. See, the thing is, as we highlight certain areas, it's going to actually adjust for those areas. Oh, wow, we actually do have a good bit of folks in Europe that are interested in what we're doing. Let's go look there. We can probably zoom in a little bit more. There we go. So it looks like we have a lot around London. We have some in Belgium and the Netherlands, and then we have some in France, around Paris. So when I'm looking for organizations that I may want to add in the future, I'm going to keep this in mind. I'm going to say, oh, let me make sure that Lawrenceville, Kansas is well taken care of, because I know some folks that do Django out there, and I'm sure they're looking for organizations to support. But I'm also going to be looking at the United Kingdom, I'm going to be looking at the Netherlands, and I'm going to be looking at France. Now, if we move a little bit further down, we can see response codes, and I'm going to kind of skip over that. In most cases, when you're dealing with server-based information, you get everything. I'm filtering out for only 200 records. So everything that got a status code 200. And by the way, all of this information, as you can see down in this area with operating systems, You can see which operating systems are being used, and then furthermore, which versions of those operating systems are being used. You can see which browsers are being used, and similarly, more information around that. All of this is coming from one tool that both JavaScript and Python developers use alike, Nginx. In fact, I've already connected to my server here. Let's drag this over. I'm on the wrong screen. There we go. Honestly, what this site is doing is it's using a platform that we have called FileBeat to basically index all of our logs. In fact, just handle that really quick. It's taking this information and making it usable. Now, when I talked about that location data, it's actually getting the location data based off of this IP address. And this is available. So GeoIP data, as you can tell, there's no cookies, there's no user tokens. Trust me, I run a Pi-hole. So I actually don't let trackers or cookies access my network. So I wouldn't be able to if it were tracking cookies for my use case. And I'm probably the biggest user of this app, so there is that. Now, one of the things that I just said there, let me move this out of the way, is kind of important. I'm the biggest user of my app. So that means all of this data is great, but at the end of the day, it is kind of skewed because there's a bunch of information of me just checking, okay, is the site up, is the site up, is the site up, okay, did this work properly, did these things work properly? Maybe I should talk to Brian Aachen about, getting some proper testing put in place here. But let's look at how we actually get actual user search trends. Shouldn't say user information because we don't have user information. And we do that using App Search. Now, App Search is Elastic's solution for what we would call that traditional mindset of search. Going to a website, typing search, getting results. You can do that with Elasticsearch out of the box. You can set that up. However, App Search provides a lot of great niceties that I'm actually going to take a lot of advantage of. In fact, my entire data set is stored in Elasticsearch or in App Search. So you can see all of our documents are here in JSON. And again, I'm not giving a demo on how that all works, but you can see, women who go San Diego, like, awesome. And a bunch of information that, we have to help build that profile out. But let's look at some of the analytics. So here we have a few things happening. This is over the past few weeks. Oh, looks like some of you have checked out the site now, so I'm gonna keep that in mind. Thank you, by the way. So I can come here really quickly and see, okay, what queries return no results? Well, an empty search will probably return no results. That's fine. Looks like everything else is working smoothly. Now let's go down here. We can see some that have no clicks. This is often people just searching to see what's available, not necessarily looking for a solution. And right now we don't have anything with clicks, but there's also been some testing involved. And I can even see some recent queries like Kansas City. And it looks like we had some results for Kansas City. So I hope that those were good. But I want to look at something that happened to me last week. So I'm going to actually go here. And I'm going to look at my analytics for there. It seems like we had a lot of information with no results popping up here. Well, one, we had someone search for London and got nothing. That's kind of a problem, especially since we noticed that one of our biggest areas of usage is in the London area. That's not good. We wanted to fix that. And this has been since fixed, which is great. I'm glad that we're now working on that. But if you remember in the slides, I asked, could you find LGBTQIA plus groups if you typed in one of the segments or one of the sub collections of that group? In this case, someone searched for groups for, supporting lesbians, and they got nothing, which it's unfortunate because I'm not that's a mistake on my part. That's not a mistake on the user's part. I shouldn't expect my users to search for the exact phrase every time. So let's fix that really quick. And we've actually already fixed it for lesbian. And what we did was we created a synonym, as you can see here. But let's update this to also say if someone uses the phrase non-binary, it should send them results to LGBTQIA+. And in fact, we can also add, well, let's give it the respect. We'll do one for each one down the road. We can do one for genderqueer, agender, and transgender, and every single group that's a member of that collection should be focused. So that's an oversight on my part. But as you can tell, given the analytics, it was easy to figure out where the problem lied. And more importantly, how do I fix it? Because at the end of the day, if I'm not fixing the problems, then I'm the problem. So now that we've done that, we don't actually have to do anything to our site because search is powering the site. It's already applied. If you now search for non-binary, in fact, let's test it. I search for non-binary. We still get some of the ones at the top that matter, like AI Club for Gender Minorities that focus specifically on non-binary women, transgender, and gender non-conforming groups. But we also get resources for the LGBTQIA plus community now. It was that simple. Being able to find a problem, implement the solution quickly, and go back and test. And then now update or create, in other cases, a persona that says, I'm going to support this group, because ultimately that's what this is for. It's about supporting groups. I could also look at my site and say, like, where have I made some changes? Well, one, I did say concise statements, right? I did that. Large touch points to make it more accessible. Soft, non-high contrast colors to make it, again, a little bit easier to read. And of course, a direct way to reach out to me if there's a problem so that I can fix it. So this is essentially it. And I could ramble more and more about how you should check this site out and do all these things, but ultimately, analytics are not that hard, especially when you don't try to do too much with them. Because at the end of the day, like, everybody wants to be respected. They want their privacy respected. They want their data respected. And in this case, we're actually able to do that. We're still able to get a lot of information. We're still able to apply this. I wanted to show you how easy it was to add FileBeat onto your Nginx instance. And that's how we're going to wrap this up. I'm not going to do a live demo of it. I'm just going to show you the steps to walk through it, mostly because I'm already doing that. I'm already running FileBeat. That's why this information is here. So let's go over to our dashboard. We're going to hit the menu. We're going to go to logs. I'm sorry if the screen's a little too small. Make it a little bit bigger. As you can see, we have a bunch of data sources. And here's all of our Nginx records. This is the information that it's pulling. We can actually see this. We can even stream it live. So, I mean, if people are coming through and updating it, this is all happening in Elastic Cloud. So I'm not worried about it affecting the presentation. Doesn't look like anybody else is on there right now, which is fine. But it's cool that we can actually see what it's pulling from. We have a bunch of Nginx access records. So if we wanted to, we could set up anomalies and look for anomaly detection. We're not going to do that. There's no reason to do that at the moment. But let's look at how easy it is to look at metrics. You know, we can see how many logs we got and when we got them. You know, plot on the 22nd. We can check the memory usage of our machines. We can set up a heartbeat to get alerts. But, and I am struggling to find this at the moment. More than anything, we can, that's the wrong spot. Let me go here. If we go to add data, we have a bunch of different options here. We click on logs, Nginx logs. And basically you copy and paste. That's it. Throw this on the server, get it running, start getting that information that's already being collected. Remember, we didn't add anything to our system other than FileBeat. It's taking what's already there and making sense of it. We start the service, we tell it to run, and we're good. Now, again, like I said, I don't want to hit any buttons because that's going to start pulling stuff down again, and there's no reason to do that. So it seems like we've had a very successful live demo. I'm not going to tempt the demo gods any longer. I'm just going to go right back into my presentation here. So I want to take a second to give a quick recap. The Elastic Stack is a great way and a fast way to leverage the power of search, not just on your website, but also in the backend for your logs, for your metrics across the board. FileBeat and App Search are the true heroes here. App Search made the site easy. It makes it fast to update. It makes it so that I can easily detect where there's an issue, make a change live in the middle of a conference talk in a matter of seconds, it be live on the website. It's pretty cool. Nginx isn't the only thing. So if you have a Whiskey server, if you have an Apache server, anything around those, it can also do that. We have plenty of first party as well as community contributed beats that you can use for these metrics. Always remember to analyze your search results to look for areas to improve. You can also look at your log data based on geographic region, based on other areas in that, to make sure that you're seeing the entire picture. And more than anything, this is very, very, very important. Talk to your users, use their knowledge, and then use information like analytics and like tools like these to fill in the spaces. I hope you have a great time building out personas, thinking like a marketer. I promise it's not always bad. And if you do have any questions, you can always reach out to me. And if you are an underrepresented person in tech and you are looking for support, it would be dumb of me not to encourage you to check out the site, Diversityorgs.tech, search for something. Hopefully I have some data in your area. If I'm missing something, there's a form there that you can add it. You can request to have it added. I hand vet all of these. We have 500 organizations in there now. My goal is to double that by the end of the year. And of course, as I mentioned, if you go to the link here, the shortened link, you can see all of my notes as well as links to Google or GitHub repos and things like that.